Hi you guys, today we're talking books. If there's something that I have a lot of in my house is books. I have a giant two-story library and I have bookshelves in pretty much every room in my house and they are all packed with books. Now among all of these books, I have lots of woodworking books. And some of these books, I will admit, I'd never even opened or read. Some of them I read cover to cover multiple times. And then most of these books, I just kind of flipped through them, picked up some interesting tips and tricks and, got inspiration from them. So I'm going to show you my favorite books and I'm going to put them all in the description below. If you're interested in purchasing any of these books, I think they will make a great addition to your woodworking shop and also they will make a great Christmas gift. I'm going to start with one that I believe to be the most useful book I've ever bought. And that is the Woodworking with the Router. The book looks something like this. It is a very thick, very heavy book. It has colored pages on the inside. If it's something that I hate about books is like when it's all just old-timey black and white, I just can't look through them. I don't know why, I just find it very hard. But this book, it is so packed with useful information. If you own a router table, I would say this book is pretty much essential. It doesn't matter if you're a very beginner or really experienced, you will find something useful in this book. It's full of information, it shows you how to make all kinds of jigs for your router, all kinds of tips and tricks. And my favorite part of this book, it shows you very clearly, and I mean really clearly, how to set up all kinds of crazy router bits, like for example, the lock miter bit. That's one that people are really struggling with. And this book is the only book that explains very clearly how to set up those kind of bits. So really recommend this book. I think you'll find so much use out of it. And this is one that I always find myself reaching for to just kind of see how to set up things or, how to do some things. So that is for the router. Now, another book that I think it is very useful is the Great Book of Woodworking Tips. This is the one this one looks. And again, colored, clear instructions. And this one has tips for everyone, from very beginner kind of simple tips as how to prevent your glue from drying up in the tip of your bottle, to making crosscut sleds for your table saw, or all kinds of other jigs that are very useful. Now, I will have to admit, some of the jigs in this book, they seemed very useful, but there's not a lot of explanation on how to make them. They do go and explaining how to make it, but if you're more of a beginner like me, you're kind of puzzled and you're like, I think I get it, but I'm not really sure, and you end up never doing it because it just seems a little bit complicated or it's not explained very clearly step by step. But still a really useful and good book. So again, this is the way this one looks, and there's some really great tips in here. So that is the second one. Oh, let's talk about boxes. You guys know I like to build boxes, and I think my favorite book of all the books I have about boxes, which I have a lot, I think out of all the genres of woodworking books is box making books. That's the one I have the most. And my favorite one is this 52 boxes in 52 weeks. Now, this is written by Matt Kenny, and I have a few of his books, and I've read them cover to cover. And this one, when you flip through the pages, you will notice that most of the boxes he's built in this book, they look very similar one to another. So you might think, well, I'm not going to learn a whole bunch from this book because they're all kind of the same. But if you read it and actually read it, you will find that on every build of every box, you will learn something new. He goes in so much detail of explaining his train of thought, how he picks the wood, the grain, the colors. He uses milk paint. He talks about milk paint, how to use it. which brand to use, how he mixes colors, what his favorite finish is, which he pretty much uses just one kind of finish for all of his boxes. And I cannot recommend this enough. It is an excellent, excellent book. And all of his boxes are pretty simple to make, actually. It's more of a beginner, if you want to say that. Very, very simple constructions, but very, very useful with lots of information. Now, if you venture in the world of building beautiful boxes with your Bena, like Bena boxes, there are tons of Bena boxes books out there. I have a lot of them. I have a lot of patterns. I bought a lot of patterns on Etsy and so on. But the one I think is the most interesting is this one over here. And when you think of Bena boxes, you kind of think of really the same designs over and over and over, nothing really new. And this one is just kind of thinking a little bit outside the box. It shows different techniques on how to sand, tools, what to use, and so on. My favorite one, which I will try to reproduce, does not, like this book has a lot of patterns in it, but my favorite box out of all this book, it does not have a pattern, so I'll have to kind of figure out on my own. But I really like that one over there. I think it's super, super cool, different than any other kind of Bena box that I have ever seen. So I am going to try to make that one. So the beautiful, building beautiful boxes with your Bena. Love that one. Now, keeping it up with the boxes, there's this other book here that makes all kinds of creations like bowls, boxes, and whatever, but with the scroll saw. And this one, it's called Wooden Boxes with a scroll saw. It looks something like this. And I like this one because, again, very, very different. I mean, just look at that box. I would like to try to make that one. I think it's super, super cool. And it shows you how to make bows. It gives you lots of patterns. So I really like that. And just really cool book with lots of information and lots of cool patterns, and very different than all the other books I've seen out there. So I was trying to show you guys something different. Now, let's talk about finishings. One book that I find very useful is this one over here, Wood Finishing 101. Now, this is definitely a beginner book. If you do not know anything about finishing and you are into woodworking, you need to read this book because it goes into details explaining pretty much every finish, how to apply it, what are the pros and cons, what finish you can apply on top of what finish, and what are the to-dos and what not to-dos things. I find it very, very useful, but definitely very beginner. So if you are more advanced woodworker, you would not find much use of this book. My favorite tip in this book is on how to make your own oil poly mixture for finishing. I thought there was some great tips there, so that is that book. Another scroll sawing book that I thought is very, very interesting is this one over here. Has some really cool patterns it starts with a very beginner kind of patterns, and then it gets to some really complicated stuff. One of my favorite patterns into this book that I would like to try, I'll make a video on it, and it's this little test tube vase. I thought that was super, super cute, and I'll make a video on it if I can successfully do it. So, fresh designs for woodworking. This is what it looks like. Again, I will put it in the description below. Lately, I've been very much into intarsia. Intarsia, it's an art of woodworking where you make pictures using wood and the natural colors of the wood. I bought all the intarsia books I can find out there. I bought them all pretty recently. But the one that has the best patterns and that spoke the best to me, it's this one over here. And super, super cool designs here. I'm going to try to make a few of them and I'll make sure I'll film that and share it with you guys. Now, lastly, there's this book that it probably won't teach you much. There's no instructions here on how to make pretty much any of these boxes. It's another, making boxes book. It's called 400 Wood Boxes. It looks something like this. And like I said, this one has no information how to make on any of these boxes, but the boxes in this book, as you can see from the cover, they are like a piece of art. This is something you go to a museum and you see some really cool sculpture. They're all kind of sculpture type boxes. And let me see if I can find another one in here to show you. There are bent saw boxes. They're just normal boxes. They're just all really, really cool looking. And like, honestly, I would not be able to reproduce probably any of these boxes, but they're just really cool to look at it, and you can pick up a few inspiration tips here and there. And let me find a really cool one. They're all really, really cool. So you'll find boxes like this, just alien looking. It's just a piece of art. It's not even, there's no, something that you would use or make. I don't know, maybe you can make it if you're very advanced. I wouldn't even know where to begin to create such a thing, but really, really cool boxes. I like looking at them and, pick up little design ideas and so on. Here is where I got the idea. If you remember, I made many inlays with my laser, the lizard inlays. And this is where I got the idea. It was actually from this book, seeing that lizard that is, the head of it, it's used as a lip, so you can open the lid. And that's where I got the laser idea. And then I made all those laser boxes with the laser inlay on it. So I hope this was helpful to you and you learned something new. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Skylar Ewing and I'll see you in my next video.